Sir, you started your entire conversation based on the fact that market will take care of itself. Market will ensure that a management school is closed or open, the number of seats will be filled in or not filled in. It also assumes that the pricing would also be taken care of. If the ROI is not there, the student will just walk out of it and go to a place where there is better ROI. So why do you need to get into the fee structure? Because the business dynamics are changing. The AICTE rules change once in 5 years, whereas business moves 6 months possibly. So is there a need for you to step into the, like, I'm not getting at the examination, which I'll talk about later, but is fees such a big thing that you need to actually start getting into it and telling the people how to do the business, where to spend, how to spend, and give an account for that?
So first of all, as a regulator, we need to look at what are the regulatory issues that are available in this society today. And one of them is a Supreme Court order which says that there has to be a state fee committee, whether we like, whether it fits into, we have never said that you tell us what the fees is. We have never said that. We said, you please follow the Supreme Court directive and let the fee committee decide what the fees is. That's all that we said. So we have never gone into what is to be charged, how much is to be charged. If I understand right, this fee committee, if you can convince, they can give you whatever fees you require. In engineering, there are fees fixed at 30,000 rupees, there are fees fixed at 2 lakh rupees, and there are also changes within courses in an institution which have been fixed.
So 2 supplementary questions, I get your point.
Yeah.
2 supplementary questions based on that. Are you saying that your regulation was forced by a Supreme Court order, 1? And 2, there's been a common criticism for some time that the policies of AICTE is the baggage that they carry for the UG courses, which is that the kind of rules that you set for UG courses, you're superimposing them on the PG courses where there is a more intellect people sitting there.
The structure to which we are limited to now doesn't distinguish between UG or PG. It's a fee structure that is dependent on what is the expenditure that is made and what is that reasonable profit as defined in the order. That is between the committee and the institution. All we have said is a fair play must exist for all those children. Now in this specific case, what happened is, in the specific case of PGDM, there is no university, there is no state, there is nothing. It's only the institute and the AICTE. Now what happens is, if there are complaints from students, from parents and so on fee issues or whatever, now do you say that AICTE has no role in telling the institution? In fact, if we have desisted even from that, we have not specified any fees for those people. All that we have said is, please go to that fee fixation committee, to which you also run engineering courses, you also run other courses, not just management. I don't think any management here survives only on a management school. There are many other institutions. So they willingly go there. Now what is the problem with PGDM?
No, come back to my question, sir, that is this regulation of yours directed by Supreme Court order or no?
Supreme Court orders are binding on all of us.
Which means that if the Supreme Court order wasn't there, you might not have stepped down to those things.
No, I don't think I can debate on hypothesis.
No, I think you still need to, what I'm trying to understand is the mind of the regulator in the way they frame the regulations. Are we saying that this regulation has come because there was a Supreme Court order?
No, there were complaints in the first place from the students, from the parents and so on. And therefore there was a need to impose some kind of regulation on that, and in order to make it as acceptable to everybody concerned, and since there is already an order which is binding on everybody, we just said please follow that.
Also, if that is what I go by, I still haven't got my answer, unfortunately, and I'll leave it there. But which also means that though you said market forces will take care of the demand supply and of the students and all, you don't believe that that will actually have an active.
I would counter that in a different way. Tomorrow, if let's say the ambassador sold by Hindustan Motors says that I'm jacking the price from current 5 lakhs or whatever to 10 lakhs, would they get away with that?
They might get away, sir. The market would not buy it. Forget about ambassador, sir. Let's talk about a Fiat.
The same would happen.
Ambassador is a government company, and you guys.
No, there is an automobile association. There are regulators who would come into the picture and say that this is unfair practice.
Sir, I think you still are around the place, but okay, I'll take it a step further. The problem that some of the institutions who are trying to be a part of the system is that you actually have a humongous set of people which are operating from outside the system without any regulation, without any control, who actually are seriously hampering the ones which are trying to work with the system. How do you talk about level playing field? How do you respond to people who want to work within the system, but you will allow a lot of people because your hands are tied? Yes, conceded. Because your hands are tied, there are a set of people who are operating outside the system, which is hampering the people who try to work with the system.
See, when there are two things that happen. There are rules in this. As a state, there are rules, and every citizen is expected to follow the rules. Now, if that does not happen, then the question of fair play, unfair play happens. Now, here is where a system of action and reaction happen, which means that somebody needs to complain. Nobody goes suo moto, because the size of the problem also may not be known. So somebody needs to complain, and the regulator would go out. I'm not just talking of in a specific case of AICTE, I'm talking in a generic sense. The regulator would have to go out and ensure justice prevails. Now I'll give you a parallel to this. There are any number of textile shops along the street. Any street you go, there are so many shops around selling all kinds of goods. On the footpath, there are several people operating, right? They all kill the business in the shops. What are the agencies doing? Now, if there is a complaint, somebody will come in, they will read, they will renew all that, and then go. And it's business as usual. Now, ultimately, what should happen is, there has to be a self-regulating mechanism. No regulator, for that matter, would be able to correct the system from end to end. So therefore, what you really need is a lot of education within the system. You need people to stick to, like for example, in the earlier case, people said, the earlier gentleman said, I also paid 100 rupees and walked off. For breaking tax, what is it? Traffic rule. And later on, when I realized that this is not right, I stopped doing that. So that mechanism, that self-regulation has to happen within the system.
Sir, this is the first time I noticed this. When you were speaking, you talked about regulator 5-7 times, and in equal measure, you talked about police. So somewhere along the line, you're trying to draw a parallel between a regulator being a police. Do you think you're an enabler? You think you're a partner? Or you think you're a police person setting rules for only thieves and not for good institutions?
Unfortunately, in this system, all our rules are made, whether it is, first of all, I'll answer your questions a little later. All the rules that we create in this system are with the assumption that the samne wala is a chor. Every rule that you create hints at that. Not only a regulator or whatever. Now, ideally, all regulators need to be enablers. I mean, the new changing system, the changing paradigm should move towards enabling, facilitating mechanisms rather than purely controlling mechanisms. But having said that, the maturity level in the system that is expected for this to happen is extremely high. And there are people who will be exploited in that chain, in that supply chain, whereby you will expect people to come down and see that justice prevails. Now that's where the tussle keeps happening. So therefore, we are not saying, I may have referred to police and regulators and things like that, but I never meant that AICTE will be doing some policing job or things like that. The examples that I gave you, people expect you to do that. From the examples that I gave you, and consciously in the last few years we have moved out of that, and that's the reason we have said the entire process should be online and based on self-disclosure. Whatever you say, every single bit of data that I have today is something that you have uploaded. I have not uploaded a single bit of data that is there on the portal today. Therefore, and we also take in fact I had some brickbats even on that. I have said, you give me an affidavit saying that whatever data you have uploaded is correct. And if it is proved otherwise, then action can be taken. Now they said, are we criminals? Why are you asking me affidavit? Now, this is the conflict and dilemma that a regulator or whatever you call him, okay, would always have.
Sir, honestly, I didn't call you anything. I only call you regulator. You yourself call yourself police, so I had to ask that question.
If you got that idea, I didn't mean that.
Okay.
So I negate.
So one good job is the policeman, right? You also, somewhere in the context of self-regulation, do you see a day when, with the market dynamics playing themselves out, the bad players going out, institutes realizing that you need to practice certain things to make it work and all, do you see a day, and hopefully a great day, when we don't need any regulation and we don't need any Mr. Mantha?
Absolutely, it has happened today. I'm very happy with that. Don't you think it has happened?
No, it's not happened for PGTM.
It has. It has. Tell me, most of the people must be running PGTM courses. Who is your regulator today? Can you tell me? Who says that? Can you prove to me by some mechanism that I am the regulator for you?
No. We have to file every year.
Have I asked you to file anything this year?
Oh no, we go back to filing. Now, when does the approval come to us?
I am saying, as on date, who is your regulator?
No, I think he's referring to the judgment where there are some gaps because of which he's...
So, the point is, yes, I am referring to the judgment, but in the context of the question that he had, so what I am saying is, today, you don't have a regulator. So, it's something that he's saying, It's absolutely enabling mechanism that the system has given you. So, maybe that's the direction which...
if I were to ask the audience for Mr. Mantha or against Mr. Mantha, how many of you would not want a regulator? Or rather, how many of you would want a gatekeeper or a regulator? Control, just raise your hands. Perfect. So, I think you got an answer that they want a partner and a facilitator, and they will also complain to you to be a policeman once in a while.
See, the real problem is, a regulator, by the very definition, has to function within the act under which he is created. Okay? The act has certain provisions. Now, by whatever way I believe or you believe, both of us cannot traverse out of that purview. Now, in that system, if you feel that it has to be partner and those things can be looked at a different plane, at a philosophical level. But at an operational level, it doesn't work like that. And however, the real issue is, if you really thought that there should be a regulator who is facilitating enough, like you said. How many of you have really gone out and did something about it? Which means that the prevailing situation is more or less fine for everybody. Now, if that is the case, then I believe the changing paradigm would probably play itself out, and in time to come, we all hope that it proves good for everybody. And then what he has said would truly become applicable.
I don't know whether you're being sarcastic or true to yourself, but
I don't know why I should be so looked at as being so cynical. I'm being upfront with you. You call me sarcastic. What do I do?
Well, the way you said it. Anyway, in the last 4 years, sir, you've worked on quite a few policies. The admission process, the fees, the CMAT, and so on and so forth. But everything gets stuck at a court level. And it is not done by 1, 2, 3, but it's done by a set of people. So obviously there seems to be an ire or an angst about the regulation that you're coming in and you're bringing in. Do you think a more consultative approach would have made it work so that it doesn't land up in the courts and get stopped there?
The lines are drawn, and it's not that a single individual or a set of people go, it's the association that goes. And every place, it's an association that goes to the court. Now, association has its own interests and its own ways of functioning and so on. And today, everything is challenged. Today, what I want to say is, when these programs, I mean, is a great program. I mean, several people are benefited from that. There are a lot of innovation possible. There are all those regulatory issues which constrict in terms of academics by a university they don't happen here. So there are several good things. But then my belief is, why are we getting into these issues today? Because the numbers are increasing, the system is expanding, there are more opportunities, there are more challenges, people are being seen as some are being seen as benefited, some are seeing this as a means of exploitation, and so on. So my belief would be, rather say that today there is a correction required, which would be very difficult. When a system grows and becomes unwieldy, solutions are not that simple. What should have happened is, when at a time when in 96, the first time when PGDM was introduced, based on an IIM model, things should have been taken care of at that time, because IIMs were created under a different methodology, which was not available to these institutions. So we tried to create something as a pilot, create certain boundary conditions, and today the entire set of boundary conditions have changed, and the model has remained the same. And today, when there is exploitation, people are coming back to the regulator saying that, what are you doing? So therefore you bring in certain regulation. And then people, having enjoyed a certain amount of freedom in that system, having whatever the outside worlds, there is always a group which will call it exploitation. And there is always a group which will say, I am doing all this in terms of quality. These things will happen, these debates will happen. But then we should remember that the regulations today which have been brought in, they have been brought in because of a certain set of circumstances. And those circumstances never existed when the system started, because it was very small. Now you can't tell the regulator that, look, you allow it to keep happening the way it was happening. You know?
Sir, I just wanted to make a comment on this. When I'm a chartered accountant, so I'm not an MBA. I think it's good news for you. And when I was doing my CA, and CA is supposed to certify the trueness and fairness of the audit reports, not the trueness and correctness of the audit reports, we are always told that you are a watchdog but not a bloodhound. Comment, sir.
No, I see, in our system, if we have the choice to believe or have no faith on anything. And that's a choice that we have. So therefore, all that we should do is we should provide a fair chance to everybody to succeed in that system.
So somewhere you also said when you were talking that change is permanent and static is dead. The problem that some of us, and it includes me also, I must say that, because rules once framed are never relinquished because it is attached to some kind of power. So you frame rules which no one wants to give up, and the next regulator comes in and adds to those rules. So to a certain extent, all regulators have only loaded us with rules, then deleting a few and adding a few and making it a bit more comprehensive and so on and so forth. And the worry that I foresee is that, because though you said that change is permanent and static is dead, regulators don't change.
I do not know whether this comment. I would want the institutions to react. For 4 years, we have changed several systems, made them much more transparent than what they ever were. In fact, there were only guidelines which were always challenged earlier. Now at least you have a regulation, you have a gazette notifications, you have some means of following them. A gazette notification is a subordinate law and things like that. And we have not changed anything except the data uploading business, because that's a process, that's an IT process which we didn't have anything to start with. So therefore it's an evolving process. But I believe in the last few years, whatever rules we have done, for example, we have brought in regulation to waive off the tuition fee. I'll give you a small background to this. 5% supernumerary which we have created on the intake, which are waived off for tuition fees, right? Last year, 1 lakh students benefited this across the country. This year, that number has gone beyond 1.5 lakhs. What it means, 1.5 lakh children with family income less than 4.5 lakh rupees would get their tuition fee waived off, right? And they get admission to any college, government, private, everywhere. Now tell me, this, if I had to discuss in the parliament and enact a law, would it have been possible? Now therefore, there are several, some rules, regulations you may not like. The fee should be regulated. You didn't like, that's fine. But there is a basis for that. Why we have done, I have told you the basis. For everything else, you go to the Section Shulka Samiti. Why? I'll give you another problem area there, which you probably have not realized, which is a real headache for us today. Some of the PGDM institutions are coming in for closure. Fine? Forget about the dynamics, why it is closing, what is quality, forget about all that. Look at it purely as an administrative issue. Okay? I am a facilitator, I am a regulator, I am this, that, and everything loses meaning after a certain point. When an institution is set up, it is set up in a certain state, right? In certain state's jurisdiction. So we require the state's NOC for saying that this can be set up in that state. We also require the university NOC because they give the affiliation. These are two essential certificates for setting up a new institute, right? Everybody knows. When you are setting up an institution, it doesn't require a university, which means I don't have a university NOC, right? You don't have to go to the state. State NOC is not required because it's a deal between the regulator and the institute. So you don't get the state NOC as well. None of the PGDM institutions have any state NOC, right? Now you look at the paradigm. When an institution is coming for closure, what is the procedure? I say that I need state's concurrence for the closure of that institution. Why? I need to protect the interests of the people who are there in the institute. They are faculty, they are students. If they are left high and dry, where will they go? Tomorrow they will file a case against the AICTE, saying that you are not protecting our interests. Like I said, we are answerable to everybody. So therefore, there is no state NOC for closure. You can't give me any NOC for closure. You can't give me any NOC of university either, which means the closure aspect also is between you and me. The starting of an institution is between you and me, closure is between you and me, right? Where has the federal principle gone? The education is in the entry 66, schedule 1, read that. Education is in the concurrent list. How do I say that I can open an institute anywhere in the country and close anywhere in the country without the state knowing it? It has, see, the point that I am making is, you should understand from the other fellow's perspective. Don't look at only your perspective. We understand that. But look at what is happening otherwise.
One of the bigger criticism that's come, and I'm moving away from the regulation part of it, is that the curriculum that's been decided by AICTE makes you work in silos. It in a certain sense makes it inflexible for schools to, innovate with changing times. How do you address that?
No, first of all, fundamentally, we give model curriculum. We don't give any curriculum that you are mandated to follow. Okay? We give model curriculum. Now, this serves two purposes. One is, there are several people coming from different places and seeking equivalence. Okay? To enter into some other study or employment or whatever. Now, how do I create an equivalence between two entities if I don't have anything? I mean, I can't. If you want to find an equivalence between your university and that university, you go out. I mean, go to the university. They are the best people to do it. You don't have to come to me. In this case, there is no university. What do I do? So therefore, I have to create a model curriculum. And when somebody comes, I have to say that your study should be at least 80% similar to what I have prescribed, because my prescription comes from an All India Board of Management, which is an All India Board which has experts, which has statutory provision within the Act. Therefore, I can provide think of providing some equivalence. Now that's the issue. Okay.
So is the 80%, is it flexible or?
Absolutely flexible. I mean, they don't really, we didn't have any problem on the, initially they said, why is AICTE prescribing curriculum and things like that. But please understand that is a model curriculum which we provide for every discipline, not just management.
So you also talked about e-governance, and we've had our own experience of trying to take data from your site as much as the B-School sites. The transparency is completely missing. Why have a role which can't be implemented?
I don't think this is a valid issue. On the site, there is a link for administration. Under that, there is a sub-link of approvals. Under that, if you see, there is a link for institutions in the public domain, which is the first link, where you will find the documents, all the documents of the institutions, in fact the land document, anything that they have uploaded is available. And the second link shows the institution information for the current session. And when you log on to it, it gives you a page where it asks you for the institute ID. Now, if you go to the list of approved institutions, you have all institutions listed discipline-wise, and across the name there is a ID. So you pick that ID, place it in this public domain page, you get access to all information.
Mahesh, I think we'll need to discuss this with him separately. Yeah. One last question before I throw it open. I don't know how many questions will come. One last question from you, sir. You refer to ISB in your talk, and you seems to have suggested that ISB has been a decently successful business model. It seems to be churning out good graduates also. The students are happy. ISB is happy. You seem to have acknowledged something. The industry is happy. Why don't we become inclusive and get those kind of people a part of the system? Because what I hate is good institute being out of the system. If you
see, we purely again from a Act perspective, the Act says we provide coordinated development of technical education that includes all those disciplines, right? That is 2H of the Act. Now, having said that, it also describes the procedure for approvals and the methodologies and things like that. The Act prescribes all that. Therefore, we go through a process, we advertise when we start a process, and then the existing institutions will get extension, the new institutions will go through a process, they get approval, things like that. Now, there are people who are doing business outside this space in technical education and so on. So again, from a provision of the Act, we also have a cell within AICTE which looks at the advertisements that people give and complaints that people make. And if we find that there is substance in that and those institutions have never approached us, we show them on our portal as institutions which are not approved by AICTE. And there is about 380 names are there on the list, and that is also available in the public domain. Now the question is, it is not for me to tell somebody to come and take my approval. It is for him to come. I mean, we don't, the Act says that all technical education needs an approval. Now, if you choose not to get into the approval process and start operating outside, you become an unapproved institution for me. And I declare it as such for the people to respond. And we also send a letter to the state government saying that they have to take action. Because sitting in Delhi, I can't file an FIR on an institution operating in Nagaland. I can't do that. So therefore, I send a list to the respective state governments, and for the information here, Maharashtra government took action on 27 institutions and they are all closed down. So that's the process that we have. I mean, ultimately if you say that some of them are doing good job, why did you close them? But why did somebody complain? And being in the position that I am in, I don't look at that complaint. Am I to say that?
No, you must surely look at any complaint that comes your way, sir. All I'm trying to say is that there seems to be a general consensus that a Great Lakes and ISB and all seem to have, struck it well with the students, and the industry is happy. They seem to be raising the standards of, management education.
The flip side of that is, who decides this? So tomorrow, if I have a situation where 500 of them start doing this, or maybe tomorrow it will be very fast before that 500 becomes 5,000. Then who decides who is, I mean, is it only the students are fine with it, so let it run? Is it like that?
No, it's an observation from my side that I think at times you're taking the shelter of the Act, at times you're taking your own opinion.
I'm not, see, fundamentally I believe in no regulation. Fundamentally, this is my personal opinion. But in a system, we have so many incongruities, so much of exploitation, you need somebody to see that there is some fair play. Therefore, you need a regulator. Now, if the regulator oversteps his jurisdiction, things happening in a different way, that's a systemic problem which we all have to look at. But having said that, all ills don't lie with the regulator. Please look at the way we are operating these subsystems.
My questions are over and I'll open it up.
NBA is still into the business of accreditation. Has it stopped working? So your management accreditation will continue to happen. What regulator does is it sets the larger principles under which an institution can be set up. After the institution produces 2 batches, then it is time to check what are the teaching learning processes that happen within the system and what are the outcomes that were envisaged in the beginning and what were achieved and whether they were achieved. So an outcome based accreditation process is in place today and NBA is still there. I mean, there is nothing to add there.
And any approvals that are pending with you, what happens?
See, some tendency will be there with NBA because of the number, size, all that. But apart from that, there is nothing. And MBA today is an independent body.
Please talk about AICTE. If there are any applications pending with AICTE at this point in time.
AICTE does not do any accreditation. Approval process and assessment, and there is a Supreme Court guideline which says that before April 30th you have to complete the entire process, and we have completed. There is nothing pending. Whatever is pending could be because of the court interventions and so on. That must be some 10-15 cases.
We have applied long back, we are not at third.
For approvals?
No, sir, for accreditation.
No. That is NBA, you have to contact NBA.
You mentioned about the changes with regard to, simplicity and the way, AICTE is conducting. But still, there is a difficulty of getting equivalence. So, is there any simplicity out there?
Equivalence of what?
Of the PGDM course being an MBA, because most of the students who go for the next further studies do have difficulty.
Please understand, what is PGDM? Postgraduate Diploma in Management. What is MBA? Masters in Business Management. Can you equate a postgraduate diploma with a master's program? I'm asking a fundamental question. Can I say a diploma is equivalent to degree?
Why not, sir? I want to understand that.
Academically, they all have different objectives, they have different specifications, diplomas are different, degrees are... Then why do you call it separate diploma and a degree? You can always call everything is a degree.
So tomorrow if Parliament in its wisdom calls the PGDMs of IIMs as degrees, how would you react?
Absolutely no problems.
So
the award of a degree is an enactment of Parliament, and only a university can do it. PGDMs are not affiliated to universities, so they can't give a degree by themselves. And IIMs also, when they started off in this premise, therefore they were not able to give degrees.
I'm completely with you on that, sir. That, what I'm trying to understand is that you seem to have a belief system that PGDM cannot be equated with MBA. Tomorrow if Parliament...
See, the point is, what I said, purely on the nomenclature, it cannot be equated. Fundamentally, content is much better than MBA, all that is fine, I'm with you on that. But if you say, you give me a certificate which says this is equivalent to this, I can't do it.
No, I didn't mean that. I said, what can be more simpler going forward?
You are not asking. I don't know, the best way is probably to improve your quality so much that you don't need any regulator.
At lunch he told me that I have personal views which you can talk separately, but here I'm going to be the AICTE chairman. So,
yes, sir, one important point is, it's not about the quality. In fact, the quality is definitely maintained, and no wonder why, the market situation talks about, the corporates also are accepting. But just in case students want to get into further studies, I mean, there's a hitch. It's a very negligible percentage though, but going forward, if needs to be done, is PGDM with whatever quality, whatever market status.
Prof, actually this has been a common complaint that one of the biggest impediments that we can remove is if we can somehow ensure that a PGDM can study further.
So you have a channel there.
Why don't we actually make it equal?
No, see, the degree, like I said again, hold on, degrees can be granted only by a university, okay? It cannot be granted by anyone else. Therefore, either you get affiliated to them and offer a degree, or you make somebody say that this I consider equivalent to something else. Now here there is a small difference which you should understand. Technically, I cannot equate a postgraduate diploma to a postgraduate degree, right? Technically I can't do it, which means if you ask me a certificate, I cannot sign such a certificate. But the universities which allow PhD registrations can always say MBA and PGDM are eligible to register for PhD. These are two different things that I am saying. Okay? In their eligibility criteria, they can say PGDM also can apply for a PhD. That doesn't make it equivalent to a master's program. but it takes care of what you want. That is possible. But if you say that you make it equivalent to a master's program and then make me equivalent to study PhD, that is in the UGC domain, it goes into university domain, then that will never happen. It's not AICTE or what, it will never happen.
It's part of a college, so we have affiliation to Madras University. We are approved by AICTE and government regulations also are on. Now when we normally advertise for admissions, we say approved by AICTE. We continue to do that. There is no hassle in that, right? Because
for 13-14 we have given you approval, no?
Yeah.
So you can continue using that. Whatever may happen next year. Okay?
Approval for outreach programs. I have applied for AICTE.
Those schemes where you get funding and all.
No, sir. You won't get any funding.
AICTE does not approve any technical education in distance learning as on date. Okay? But there was a tripartite committee of DEC, DEC, IGNU, DEC, UGC and AICTE. Okay? DEC is officially closed. Now there is no DEC. Okay? MHRD has given the notification and the president has given the consent. So DEC is no longer there. There is also a circular which is released already. All technical education in distance learning, if it happens in future, will go to AICTE and all other programs in distance will go to UGC. Okay? Based on this, there are several committees appointed and we have also participated in that. Fundamentally now, we will be allowing blended learning to happen in technical education. The regulations are ready for that. The process, approval process, everything is ready for that. We have not published that in the public domain because of certain issues that we have. Once that is settled, we will notify that and then any institution can apply under blended learning mode. No distance, no non-contact program. The lab part, the workshops, labs, all that will happen offline, meaning face-to-face, and the teaching part of it can happen online. Okay? But that is still not, so technically we don't approve anything as on date. When the regulation comes, we will change it.
We are affiliated to apply for all the financial assistance for all the programs.
Like I said, for 13-14, we have already given approvals. So all financial things, everything will follow. Will be given. In fact, we have advertised some 10-15 days back.
We
so
can apply. We can apply.
Whatever uncertainty or whatever would be there, that would probably reflect in 14-15. But that also we don't see because there are certain things happening in the background. So maybe.
Last question.
During the day about the skills. And AICTE also it has for national vocational framework. But after that we have heard nothing. We have registered but nothing much has happened on that. Can you tell us the update?
You have been given approval?
Yes.
Have you been given approval?
We have applied online. But
Have you been given approval? We have approved 350 institutions and the entire list is there on the portal. Please check if your name is there. If your name is not there, come back to us. And if your name is there, all that you have to do is go and admit students.
I think we'll close it with that. Thank you, Mr. Mantha, for such a intriguing and you did answer a few questions and skipped a few questions. But I do understand that you are you have a personal capacity and a professional capacity. You are at times silenced by the masters of this nation. I'm fine with that. But thank you so much. Professor Bala wants to make a last comment. Is there anything, sir?
Sir, I have been one of the most affected party by AICTE. I don't want to get into that. But I must say, after your arrival in the chair, it looked more like gentleman game. Otherwise, it was Gundaraj.
I think, Professor Bala, we should. I think I've called him a police. You're saying he is not a gunda, so. And he himself said he's a bhai, so I think that closes everything. Thank you so much, sir.
No, people expect me to do that.
Yeah.
I never said anything.
Can I make a
Yes, please, sir.
final-
Yes, sir.
Mike,
Mike, please.
since you mentioned about that change, Mr. Mantha, I never had a chance to meet you. I have been in the field for over 5 decades now. Also was associated with IICT for ages, but never had a chance to meet you. So I thought I'll comment on your presentation, which he indirectly said. I mean, when you say IICT chairman, you see a different style of presentation, but yours was one of the most scholarly presentation, balanced, mature presentation. I want to compliment you for that. Really compliment you. Lovely. Your style was so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mantha. And ladies and gentlemen, can you give a huge round of applause for him, please?